Hey guys, just throwing this little recording in here for today's lesson. So recorded the Zoom, but a lot of the stuff we went over since there were a lot of people in person, obviously today, and that's going to be kind of our norm. I'll probably throw these little screencast videos together, especially when there's a lot of stuff that more pertains to in person, like the first part of what you see on our agenda here. So obviously, with some of those expectations or procedures, even though all of them apply to all students. So a lot of it is really specific to in-person issues and procedures. So the other thing, the block rotation and bell schedule, if you want to click on that. So I'll probably leave it on our agenda kind of each day. So just because that's a good reminder of the new schedule that we're on that you guys see here. Okay. So it's what's behind me. Don't forget first block, 8:25 to 9:50, 10 to 11:22 for second. Third block, 11:32 to 1:40. Lunch in the middle there, depending on what class you have for A3 and B3. And then 1:50 to 3:15. And then don't forget there's also that rotating A-Day, B-Day for Wednesdays. So this Wednesday is a B-Day. Anyway, be aware of that. That's when you need to be logged into Zooms and stuff for live in-person instruction. But like I said, I'm just kind of throwing these little videos in so you know what you need to be doing, working on. So first things first, I address with people with the clip from Romeo and Juliet from Thursday/Friday last week. I think I actually posted it all week. That last 20 minutes of the film, at least up to the point where we are. So right after the fight scene. I think I had noted that in the Ed puzzle. I don't remember how I mentioned it in class. That was Act 3, okay, through the end. That is the end of Act 3 and Act 4. So if I didn't clarify the 4, I did go ahead and fix that in the Ed puzzle. If you haven't watched that, that is Part 4. That's available right there in the agenda. So you can actually watch all the way up to that point in the film, part 1, 2, 3, and 4. So remember, part 1 is Act 1 plus the balcony scene. Part 2 is the next day, day 2 in the play. Part 3 is the fight scene only. And then part 4, okay, is actually where we left off today with the rest of Act 3 after the fight scene. And basically all of Act 4, at least as that film version covers it. So other things to be aware of. Essay, step 1, choosing your character. That is due today, basically. So make sure you're on top of that. Make sure it is completed by Thursday/Friday of this week, because on Thursday or Friday, depending on if you're A-Day or B-Day, so we will be doing step 2, okay, as well as completing the film. So we'll actually be completing the play through the film version, and then next week we'll go back and look at parts of it as we focus more next week on the actual construction of the essay, putting some more pieces of it. But we will be doing essay step 2 on Thursday, Friday, so make sure you get step 1 done first, because you got to choose a character. All right. As far as today's lesson goes, I wanted to look a little bit closer at Act 4, Scene 3, and specifically Juliet's character, because we've not talked too much about Juliet. We've focused more on Romeo, even some side characters, and that's mainly because anytime we see Juliet, her interaction is usually through Romeo. But in Act 3, that starts to shift a little bit, where we get more of Juliet, although it's always still kind of related to Romeo there. Act 4 is when that changes. Okay, when Juliet is dealing with all of these problems, and then eventually decides to go through with the Friar's plan to fake her death. So that's what happens in Act 4, Scene 3, is where she's contemplating and finally decides to take that poison, that potion that will put her in that comatose state that will make it appear like she's died. So they can fake her death and then get her off to Mantua to be with Romeo. Because what's the worst that could happen there? Sounds like a solid plan. Anyway, so if you click on that link there, that will bring up the graphic novel. I've gone ahead and pulled up the first page of that here, as you guys can see. So I want to skip through this a bit, because the first part is about like getting ready for the wedding. So remember, the wedding to Paris is supposed to be the next day. That's crazy. So the big key piece of dialogue that I want you guys to see here is a really short piece. It's not, Juliet has a soliloquy, in the second half of the scene on the last few pages. But this page right here, right before she launches into the full soliloquy, is really important, where she says, I must act out this desperate scene alone. This lets us know just how Juliet is feeling, her emotions, and kind of her mental state even, that she feels like she's all alone. She doesn't feel like she can turn to the nurse. Romeo's not there, so she's even gone to the friar. So this kind of lets us know that she maybe doesn't necessarily agree with the friar's plan, but it's like, what else am I going to do? I got nobody else to turn to. Also with her parents, remember, they basically want her to marry Paris, and if she doesn't do that, they're going to disown her. So as her father says, leave her out in the streets to starve. Wow, that's a 180 from earlier in the play, right? So we can see and understand why Juliet is feeling alone, but think about the mental state that puts her in. This is one of those times where I really would encourage you guys to try to make a personal connection with the story. Think about how it feels when you don't feel like there's anybody that you can turn to. Also, think about how that usually turns out when we feel like there's nobody we can turn to, there's nobody to help out. Usually doesn't end well, right? So that leads her into actually taking the potion. Now, as much as I would encourage you guys to read through this section in the graphic novel, if we look at the next page here, okay, sorry, it's running kind of slow. I think it's kind of stalled out with everything, so apologies on that. There we go. The next page, what you guys will notice is how visually different this particular page is. So it almost looks like a negative of like a photograph. If you guys have ever seen that, where like all of like the color and the outline of things would be bright white and everything else is black or grayed out. So it's really kind of eerie looking. And I don't think it's going to load, but that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and close that and shift over here to the discussion, because I've actually posted one of those pages on the discussion post, which is our assignment for today. So what I want you guys to think about is not just Juliet's mental state, where she is with all of these tragic things that have gone wrong, which are listed right over here, right? Okay. So if you need kind of a recap of everything she's dealing with, there we'll see all that. But then, like I said, in the graphic novel, look at how they illustrate this. With Juliet's face blacked out, you can see the shock, almost horror, right, on her face. Think about how the imagery goes along with that too. So here we see just before she drinks the potion, right, all she's contemplating, she even has like a vision of Tybalt's ghost, so to kind of double down on the creepy eeriness of all this. And then you see her face still kind of blacked out as she drinks the potion. And then this last panel of the scene, as they illustrate, there's a dagger sitting here, as earlier in the scene she contemplates suicide again and opts for faking her death versus just taking her own life. But still, we know she is going to eventually take her own life. So it's almost like this threat of suicide is never far out of reach, quite literally here with the dagger as she passes out from the potion. So when scene 5 picks up, obviously we'll be well past this, because as we saw in the movie clip, her funeral is acted out. So anyway, just wanted you guys thinking about like Juliet's character and all that she's dealing with. But like I said, your post in this discussion is just to try and give Juliet some advice, kind of assume the role of a close friend for her, and then to help her better manage that situation. So offer maybe some advice. You might want to think about advice to help her deal with like her feelings, her emotions. Or if you think you can come up with a better plan than what the friar tells her, fake your own death. So then that might be another route you can go. 2 sentences minimum for this, but either direction you want to go, or if you want to tackle both, then maybe write a little bit more. That's fine too. I'll leave this up to you guys. Be interested to see what you come up with. So just remember, for a discussion, all you have to do is come down here, hit reply, and then when you hit reply, that text field will pop up. Just drop your response in there. Good to go. Do not forget, step 1, essay stuff. Get it done. So if you've got other assignments that are past due or missing, Hey, please make sure you take care of those. You can check either of those. You can check those under either grades or the assignments in that left side navigation that you see in red here. Okay. I always suggest going to grades so that way it'll tell you if you turned it in or not. But if you want to just see all the assignments at once because you know what you're missing, that's maybe an easier way to get directly to those pages. All right. Everything is still available for you. Remember, the quiz is another priority if you're behind on that one. But the big fish to fry currently is that step one of our essay, making sure you're not getting behind on that. Okay. So email me if you guys need anything. Or feel free to come into the next Zoom, live with us here at these times. Happy to help people out that way too. All right. See you guys. Good luck.